Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines, a series sorting through some of the jargon of philosophy. In this video we're going to be looking at what is the metaphysical horse fallacy. Now, the full name of this fallacy is putting the epistemic cart before the metaphysical horse, or putting the semantic cart before the metaphysical horse. This fallacy is a little complicated, and in order to understand it, we need to understand the distinction between metaphysics, epistemology, and the philosophy of language. So, broadly, metaphysics is the study of what is, what exists, what possibly exists, what those things that exist are made of, what properties those things have, and how those things interact and change, and how we interact with those things that exist. Epistemology, on the other hand, is the study of what we can know about the world, what we do know about it, and how we know those things, broadly. Philosophy of language, or semantics, is the study of the meaning of the words that we use to connect those statements of knowledge with the real world that they claim to be about. So we have something of a hierarchy, with metaphysics being necessarily primary because metaphysics is the world that we're talking about, followed by semantics, which is the words we use to talk about the world, followed by epistemology, how we can know that the words that we use to talk about the world are representative of the actual world. So, the metaphysical horse fallacy then occurs when one takes as primary epistemology or semantics over metaphysics. There are two ways that this can appear, or at least that people may talk about it, specifically and generally. We'll take a look at both. So with respect to the specific version, this is pretty clear. Many facts about the world are generally not considered dependent on what we can know about them or how we describe them. And therefore, simply drawing some conclusion about, well, we can't know this, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So if we can't know anything about a point of time in the distant past, it does not therefore mean that there isn't some fact of the matter about what happened at that point of time in the past. It simply means that we can't know anything about it. Trying to claim that our epistemology defines the metaphysics of the world is putting the epistemic cart in front of the metaphysical horse, at least in kind of the specific version that we're looking at. Now, this specific version is up for contention, and different philosophers may say that, well, actually we have more of a coherence view and there aren't real facts about the world. We'll talk about that in a second. However, the more general version is more broadly agreed upon. This concern is also raised with respect to general theories. If your theory is not clear about what types of things metaphysical facts are and how they are true, you may struggle to define an epistemology where a precondition for knowledge is truth. So, in epistemology, most philosophers go by some version of Plato's definition of knowledge, which is its true, justified belief, maybe with a Gettier So, you need the beliefs to be true in order to do that. So you need an explanation of the truth, or what makes facts about the world true, in order to build up to that epistemology. If you don't have kind of your definition of truth or your definition of what facts look like, then you're going to have a problem defining an epistemology of how you can go about finding out whether or not those things are true and how you can go about justifying beliefs about those true things. There is debate within the philosophical community as to what exactly constitutes an example of kind of the specific version of this fallacy. Some contend that truth is about coherence between beliefs, so if we have no beliefs about something, it may not in fact be true. However, this problem with the specific version clearly highlights why the general fallacy is such an issue. Until you have defined a theory of what is true and what makes something true, you can't define a theory of what we can and cannot know. Your epistemology will look different if you have a coherentist view of truth, that what makes things true is our beliefs about them cohering together in a nice web, as opposed to a correspondence view of truth, where you're talking about the words that you say or the ideas you have corresponding to physical objects out there in the world. If you don't know which of those views on truth you're going after, you don't know how to justify the statements that you are making within your epistemology. If the facts about the world, if the way that you are saying the facts about the world exist is different, you're going to have a different epistemology. So until you build up from that metaphysical foundation, you can't build an epistemology out of it. So there are specific situations where one might think that facts are contingent on our beliefs about them, such as facts about beauty or ethics. So the specific fallacy may apply in some situations, but not others, though this will depend on what you believe about the facts about beauty and ethics. However, this only underscores the importance of the general fallacy. If you think that facts about beauty are based on properties of the world, you will go about trying to discover those facts and your arguments about why those facts are true very differently from someone who believes that they are based on human beliefs about what is beautiful. Your answer to the question about what makes something beautiful, the metaphysical question, needs to be primary. You need to determine that answer first. Is something beautiful because of facts about it and facts about the world, or is something beautiful because facts about the things in people's heads? Because in order to know that something's beautiful, you have to justify your belief that it is beautiful. And if you're in a world where you think it's based on the properties of that object, your justification is going to look like an explanation of something about the properties of that object. However, if you're in a world where you think it's beautiful because of the facts and the ideas in people's heads, your justification is not going to be about the properties of that object. Rather, it's going to be about the facts and the ideas that are in people's heads. And so your epistemology needs to come secondary to your metaphysics, to your ideas about what makes that thing beautiful, about the properties of that object. Until you define which metaphysical state you think the world is in, i.e. what makes things have certain properties, for example, you cannot start your epistemic project of how do you know what makes something have that a particular object has a certain property. Whew. So that was a little bit complicated. It's a little bit more complicated than a lot of the fallacies we've dealt with here. Leave your questions in the comments below, but also, if you have run into any instances of someone using the metaphysical horse fallacy, feel free to list them in the comments below, either the specific version or the general version. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.